What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And to celebrate the release of the third and final season of His Dark Materials on HBO today, I figured I would finally showcase to you guys all of the custom LEGO minifigures that I designed based off of the series. Now, I will be splitting these minifigures into three different sections: the characters who I believe are the good guys that we're meant to root for, then the more morally gray characters, and I will be rounding things out with the characters who I believe are representative of the evil side. So let's get started. Starting off, we have our protagonist, the child of the prophecy herself, Lyra Silvertongue, or as she would prefer to be called, Lyra Silvertongue. Now, this minifigure is based off of her appearance for most of Season 2. From the top down, the hair I used is from Kira from Solo: A Star Wars Story. The face and torso are both from Hermione Granger from LEGO Dimensions. The legs I used are just black mid-legs with printing on them from the first Harry Potter CMF series. I gave her the satchel piece from Rey from The Force Awakens, and to represent the alethiometer, I actually used Jack Sparrow's compass, which I think works quite effectively. Next up, I have yet another variation of Lyra, and this is based off of what I believe her appearance will be for most of Season 3. The hairpiece I used is just a plain dark brown ponytail piece, which I believe has come on a variety of different minifigures. The face is still Hermione Granger. The torso is actually from Ron Weasley from the Burrow set that I did a build live stream for on the channel a few months back. The legs are just plain dark tan mid-legs, and I gave her a lantern because we are shown her using one once she and Will enter the Land of the Dead in the new season. Now we have our secondary protagonist of the series, Will Parry, the bearer of the subtle knife. For him, I just used this hairpiece, which has been used on Nakia from Black Panther and several minifigures since then, I'm sure. The face is from Ned Leeds from the Spider-Man sets. The torso is from a Harry Potter minifigure, I believe, but really any printed jacket torso will work for Will. I just used plain black mid-legs, and to represent the subtle knife, I actually used Sting from the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit sets, because, strangely enough, the design of the subtle knife in the show is quite similar to that of Sting. And a very simple change for Will's appearance in Season 3, once he has quite literally taken up the mantle of his father. I just used the Mad-Eye Moody torso from the first Harry Potter CMF series. Next up, we have the minifigure that I am perhaps the most proud of, and that is none other than Lee Scoresby, who is quite possibly my favorite character in the story, and no, that's not just because he's played by Lin-Manuel Miranda. For him, I just used this cowboy hat piece, which I believe I got from the LEGO movie. The face is from Baze Malbus from the Rogue One sets. I just gave him a fur collar piece for his coat, which I got from Boggart Snape, but I believe it was first used on Craven the Hunter, and since then has been used on many different minifigures. The torso is from Keeley from the Hobbit sets. I just replaced the hands with light brown hands to represent his gloves. I gave him a small pistol piece, although he does use a rifle on very rare occasions in the show, including a moment that I'm sure many of us would rather not relive. I gave him the legs from Lucy or Wildstyle from the LEGO Movie 2, and for his demon, Hester, I just used this little bunny piece that I got from a LEGO City polybag that I reviewed a few months back. Rounding out the good guy section of this showcase, I have Mary Malone, the scholar who is asked to play the role of the Serpent by the Angels in Season 2, and this design is based off of her appearance at the end of Season 2 once she chooses to venture off into the worlds in search of Lyra and Will. For her, I just used the hair from Queenie Goldstein from the Fantastic Beasts sets. The face and legs are both from Hermione Granger from the second Harry Potter CMF series. I just gave her this blue backpack piece, which I got from a hiker minifigure from one of the LEGO CMF series. I'm sorry, I can't remember which one off the top of my head. And the torso is from Steve Trevor from the Wonder Woman set from 2017. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, here's everyone's real favorite character, Iorek Byrnison. I'm actually not sure where I found this polar bear piece, but I'd say it works pretty well for Iorek. Starting off with the characters who I believe to be morally gray, we have the Queen of the Witches of Lake Inara, and that is Serafina Pekkala. For her, I used the hairpiece from Rey from Star Wars. The face is actually from Tina Goldstein from Fantastic Beasts, but I added some Sharpie around the eyes to represent the makeup or markings that she has around her eyes in the show. The torso and legs are both from Legolas Greenleaf from the Hobbit sets. Now, in the show, the base color of her outfit is actually dark blue rather than the light brown that you see here, but she does have the kind of golden frilled detail at the top, which I felt was the most important aspect of the design to capture. I gave her one of the arms from Wonder Woman because I feel that Wonder Woman's gauntlet does a good job of representing the sheath that she has on her arm for her quite deadly knife, which she is wielding in her other hand. Next up is Will Parry's father, John Parry, or Joppery, or Stanislaus Grumman, or the Shaman. Let's just say he's a man of many names. For him, I used the Superman hairpiece. Now, in the show, he does actually have his hair tied up in a bun at the back, but I couldn't find any other hairpiece that would work, and from the front, I do think this hairpiece gets the job done pretty well. The face I used is from Keeley from the Hobbit sets. The arms are from Tony Stark from the Avengers Infinity War Bricktober pack, because I think they add some much-needed detail to the minifigure. The torso is from the Unkar Thug from The Force Awakens, the legs from Star-Lord T'Challa from the MCU CMF series, and for his Osprey demon, I just used a little gray bird. Now rounding out the morally gray characters, I have the man himself, Lord Asriel. Now, the reason I include him in this section and not the villainous section is because I don't think he's quite as bad as some of the other villainous characters in this series, despite the fact that he did literally kill a child, and I can't say that about any of the other characters in this section. For him, I used the same hairpiece I used on John Parry, funnily enough, but in a lighter brown color. The face is from Steve Rogers from the Avengers Infinity War sets, the same fur collar piece that I used on Lee Scoresby earlier. The torso is from Owen Grady from Jurassic World, but with light brown arms and dark brown hands. The hip piece is from the Sheriff Not a Robot from the Lego Movie, and the legs are just from a Death Star Trooper, I believe. You thought that was it for our pal Asriel, didn't you? Well, no. That was based off of his appearance in Season 1, in particular, the very first episode. This version of him is based off of his appearance in the newest season, once he is forming his rebellion against the Authority and attempting to create his own Republic of Heaven. For this version, I used the hairpiece from Qui-Gon Jinn. Once again, the Steve Rogers face print. The torso is from a Rebel Trooper from Rogue One. The arms are gunmetal gray with black hands. The legs are actually from a different version of Owen Grady from Jurassic World. And I gave him an Alien Conquest pistol, because funnily enough, the gun we see him using in the trailers actually looks quite similar to an Alien Conquest gun. Moving on to the villain section of this showcase, I have none other than Mrs. Coulter, who is definitely a standout character in the series, mostly due to Ruth Wilson's brilliantly malicious performance. For this minifigure, I used the hair from Peggy Carter from the MCU CMF series, the face from Arwen from the Lord of the Rings sets, and her character in the show is always wearing some very flamboyant outfit, usually in the colors red and blue, so I used the torso and legs from Queenie Goldstein from the first Harry Potter CMF series, and for her monkey demon that we all love to hate, I used this very old monkey piece. And even though it isn't fully accurate, I think it gets the job done. Moving right along, we have Lord Boreal, or as he is known in Will's world, Sir Charles Latrim. For this minifigure, I used the same hairpiece that I used on Will earlier, the face from Star-Lord T'Challa from the MCU CMF series. Although Boreal is a pretty stoic character in the series, and I don't think this face entirely suits him, I couldn't find a better one in my collection. The torso is from Lucius Malfoy from the 2010 or 2011 Harry Potter sets, and I gave him the Nagini piece from the first Harry Potter CMF series because, of course, his demon is a serpent. Next up is Father McPhail, who, let's just say, is a bit of a failure. Now, I actually did make a different version of this minifigure at the beginning of the year using the Percival Graves torso and legs, but this is more so based off of his appearance in Season 3 once he has become the new Cardinal of the Magisterium. The face I used is from the Lake Town Guard from the Hobbit sets, But it was also used on a rebel trooper from Rogue One, just with a slightly lighter orange color for the beard, which I don't think is quite as accurate to Father McPhail in the series, but it should work as an okay substitute. The torso is actually from Albus Dumbledore from the new mini Hogwarts polybag that I reviewed a few months back, just with black arms instead of pink. And the legs are just any black-robed legs. I think these ones have been used on Palpatine and Fenrir Greyback. Many minifigures have used this pair of legs over the years. Now, our final minifigure is actually a new character in Season 3, Father Gomez, who is the assassin sent by the Magisterium to kill Lyra. For this minifigure, I used the hairpiece from Jacob Kowalski from Fantastic Beasts, the face from Bucky Barnes from the Avengers Infinity War Bricktober pack. Keep that in mind, the Infinity War version and not the CMF series version, because that version is a little bit too cheerful for this character. The torso is from one of the Ring Wraiths or Nazgul from The Lord of the Rings. The legs are from the Wicked Witch of the West from either LEGO Dimensions or the LEGO Batman movie. And on his back, I just gave him a neck bracket with a rifle attached to it. That just about wraps up my showcase for all the minifigures I designed based off of his dark materials. Now, I will briefly mention that earlier in the year, I designed custom minifigures based on Farder Coram and John Fa, the leaders of the Egyptians. But since then, I've misplaced a lot of the pieces that I used for those minifigures, and I wanted to make sure I got this video out on time for the release of the new season. But if you guys do want to see all the pieces I used for those minifigures, you can look at the post on my Instagram account. You guys let me know, which one of these minifigures was your favorite? My personal favorite is probably Lee Scoresby, but just whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.